Hey, how's it going, everybody? In this video, I want to talk about the 3 worst places to do security. As you might already know, or either if you're thinking about it, security jobs are pretty laid back. The pay is pretty decent as well. From my experience, I've been in the field for 15 plus years, working security, also graduated from the police academy. While I was doing security, the first place, in my opinion, is the worst place to do security is at hospitals. That's the number one worst place to do security. And there's a few reasons. I'm going to point them out. The first reason is constant high stress emergencies. That's something you get a lot. While you're working at a hospital, they got code red, they got code blue, orange, etc. Code red is considered a fire. Constantly, the fire alarm is going off. People pull in the fire alarms. They got different codes like code amber and code pink. Believe it or not, you might think that's far-fetched. From my experience working in the hospital, we had to chase people down. I'm talking they go to the baby room. It could be a father who has issue with the mother of the child, and people for some reason are crazy enough, they think it's a good idea or whatever they're thinking, they'll go in the hospital literally and try to take the baby away. We had situations where we had to chase people 2-3 blocks down the street away from the hospital. Definitely very high stress emergencies, and every day you go to work, best believe something is gonna happen. You got family screaming at the nurses because a loved one is not being seen fast enough. Somebody overdosing in the lobby area. Security is the first person they're gonna call to try to create some kind of order or remove the person from the premises. You get that a lot. You got combative patients. In my state, it's considered a Section 12. Basically, it's a person that's being held at the hospital for psychiatric evaluation. So they're basically being held against their will because if the state find that the person is not safe or they could cause harm to themselves or others, then they can be held, I believe, either 24 hours or 48 hours for psychiatric evaluations. And these patients sometimes can be very violent, uncooperative. A lot of times you have to use a restrain them down in their room. Somebody got to hold the leg. They'll spit on you. Other times while they're in their room, they might have you sit outside their door of the patient room, basically to watch them to make sure they don't leave. When you're doing these kind of like one-on-one Section 12 patient watch, you can't even be on your phone, and it's a long day. It's a long shift. And even for you to be able to even move, like to go use the bathroom, you gotta call somebody to sit down in the time frame where you using the bathroom. And from my personal experience, 1 hour feels like 2-3 hours. It takes forever. Like when you can't do anything, you can't read a book, you can't distract yourself any other way, just the time just drags. And I remember watching a guy, Section 12 patient. I just literally took my eyes off of him for a few minutes, and the guy was jumping over my head. I kid you not. He dragon kicked a double glass door of the hospital, ended up in the stairwell, was out in the street running in his hospital gown, and I had to chase him. Imagine chasing somebody, trying to call for backup at the same time. Very stressful. Luckily, there was a police officer from the local town that was driving by. He kind of saw what was taking place, and I signaled him for him to help me out, and he was able to cut off that patient, and that's pretty much how that situation was resolved. The psych patient, they break restraints, tries to run out. Drunk patients, they swing at you because they don't want to be treated. Withdrawal patients becomes aggressive and they try to bite and spit, etc. Another thing is there's zero downtime when you work in the hospital. You finish escort, immediately get called to the ER for a disturbance. You might be watching a patient on suicide watch while taking calls for trespassers. There's constantly something going on. And the way most hospitals have its structures as well, you got posts all around the hospitals. So you'll see like there's a security guard by the front entrance. Basically, there's a person all around all the key areas in the hospital. You got what's called a rover officer. His job is to walk around, do patrols, open doors, tours. You can't just do your patrol just by checking areas. They want you to check certain specific areas. They have what's called D-Tex, which is like these kind of tags where there's a machine, you have to scan it. And sometimes, depending how big the hospital you're working at, there could be 150 to 200 of these things. Patrols sometimes takes you a while. There's always something to do. And the next point is liability and pressure. Patient falls doing an escort. Suddenly, everyone wants to know if you handled it properly. You might have agencies coming at you, family members coming at you. You might deal with aggressive, violent patient, and they're coming at you, and you defend yourself. Best believe you're gonna be blamed if you do anything. Like, let's say you restrain them, like, or they fall down, or you put them on the ground, and they get hurt. Definitely, people not gonna care if this person was coming at you in an aggressive way. Use some kind of defensive tactic to handle the situation, de-escalate the situation. Confused patients leave the building. The first person that's gonna be questioned is you. Basically, they're gonna want to know what happened. If you was doing your job the proper way, they're gonna go review the cameras, etc., to see if you were slacking on your job. I remember doing the Boston Marathon bombing. That was a very, very stressful situation where you have something like that taking place. As you already know, hospitals cannot be closed, but yet you have to check everybody because we were not sure what's gonna happen if anybody was coming in with a weapon or trying to come in with any kind of bombs or whatnot. So it's very stressful when you have an environment that has no metal detectors, but you have to check everybody. This happened actually in my state a couple of years ago, where a doctor operated on a patient and the patient passed away. A family member felt like the doctor did the procedure properly, and that person came in the hospital and actually shot the doctor right there. That's the kind of stuff you have to deal with and you have to be mindful of. The last point why working in the hospital is the worst place is staff entitlement. Nurse calls to remove a visitor. You get called for some of the stupidest thing ever. These people think you like basically a scientist. You could solve all their problems. Doctors treat you like shit. That's another thing. You'll notice immediately. Doctors, they look at you as if you're like subhuman, because they have this mindset because of their degrees, their credentials, that they're better than you. They have this mindset that what you do doesn't require any kind of skill as a security guard. So you're gonna notice that immediately. You're gonna notice that a lot of doctors are gonna treat you like somebody that's stupid. They don't respect what you do for a living. They don't respect the security profession. Like, most doctors look at security guards, people with low IQ, no education whatsoever. It's a type of work that anyone can do. You're gonna get zero respect from the staff members, nurses, doctors. You also got admins. They'll tell you to enforce rules that they refuse to enforce themselves. So you get that a lot. Also, you have to keep in mind as well, when you're working in the hospital field, you might have the director of the hospital intentionally trying to get you to break some rules just to see if you're gonna follow proper protocols. They don't care if you know who they are. The director might come up and knows that he's not supposed to park somewhere, but still trying to park somewhere regardless to see if you're gonna enforce the no parking rules or whatever it might be, to see if you're gonna follow the proper procedure. And if you don't, you're basically screwed. Those are some of the reasons why I think working in the hospital is one of the worst places. Now we're going to move on to the next one. And the second worst place to work as a security guard is malls. The malls, the reason why is in the mall, you constantly on your feet. Similar to the hospital, like always walking, always checking out something. You got teen mobs / petty crimes. Group of kids, they're sprinting around the store to store, stealing small items. Teenagers arguing, shoving. Then 20 people crowd around, pulling out phones. TikTok challenges. Definitely the theft is the biggest thing working at the mall. Constantly a lot of theft. Most malls around here, they have multiple vendors in the mall. People stealing from different vendors, then they call on you. So you constantly dealing with writing a report, investigating some kind of theft that took place. Or you might at times like potentially chase people down, which can be very dangerous because nowadays people has all kinds of knives. They got like weapons. I remember working at the mall. The detect tours took forever because you got to pretty much walk around, check every point of the mall. And you constantly on your feet all the time. Working in the mall, people expect for you to know everything. If somebody asks you, where's this store? You got to know where it is, etc. And which goes back to the sense of entitlement as well. But one of the biggest things is constantly being on your feet. If you notice, some malls start incorporating where securities can have those electric scooters now because there's so much walking involved. When I was working at the mall, I might have probably do like 50,000 steps per day. It might even have been more than that. It was crazy. After I was done with work, my back would be killing me. Feet hurt. It's just a long day. A very, very long day dealing with all kinds of issues. Second reasons, you got huge open areas, small teams. So you respond to a fight near the shoe store, but someone reports a theft on the opposite side. You don't even have enough manpower to handle the problem. One officer covers 2 floors because someone's called out. That's another thing. People constantly called out at that job. Show up to work, next thing you know, somebody called out. You never really have the manpower you really need because there's always people calling out. The job you're doing is supposed to be like 2-3 people. You're doing it by yourself sometimes. So that's another downside. Stuck watching cameras while everyone else is tied up. All security, they got these camera rooms. You got sometimes like 100 cameras in front of you and you have to monitor all the cameras. So just imagine sitting in front of all these monitors. After a while, it hurts your eyes because your job is to constantly monitor the cameras. You got to do report writing, a lot of report writings. So if you don't like writing reports, then definitely that job is not for you. A lot of frequent fights taking place at the mall, which happens a lot. 2 groups of teens clash after school. Ex-boyfriends run into each other and start swinging. Drunk adults from the mall bar fight over nothing. All those are things you have to keep in mind when you're working in the security field in the mall. Like I said before, retail staff expecting miracles. Like when you work at the mall as a security guard. The store worker yells, "Stop him," as a shoplifter basically runs out the store, and you are expected to run after this person like you're a police officer and detain them. It's crazy. You get that a lot. They tell you you're not supposed to detain anybody, but when you start the job, the expectation from the mall workers is for you to detain people and be a police officer and whatnot, which you are not, and enforce certain rules and laws that you don't even have the power to enforce. Again, high liability, low authority. You see someone stealing, but the policy say you can't touch that person or chase. Like I said before, you respond to a volatile argument, you can't touch nobody, but yet they expect for you to touch people. You got corporate wants 0 incidents, yet expect perfect outcomes. I'm telling you right now, That's one of the worst places to do security. Final place that, from my experience, that you don't want to do security work is hotels. At the hotels, you got drunk guests everywhere. Wedding guests stumbling through the hallways, yelling at 1 a.m. Someone passes out in the elevator and you're responsible for the situations. You got bachelor party fights in the lobby. You got domestic abuse issues. It's crazy. You work at a hotel, best believe they're gonna have you posted right in front of the door. Now I'm over here in Boston where it gets really cold. So in the winter time, you by that door, every time that door opens, you're gonna get hit in the face with that cold weather, that cold wind. It's horrible. I remember doing that. The hotel specifically I was at had a lot of theft taking place outside in the parking lot. So you have people breaking into people's vehicles, taking GPS, all kinds of stuff. And you are required to go out there, do patrols, especially if you work overnight. You're required to do night patrols outside. There were times like I was doing patrols like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would literally see people breaking into cars, but I knew better. I didn't even engage. I just went about my business and went back inside. I remember doing my patrol one time. There was a vehicle that had like 5 people in there, and they were literally going around the parking lot breaking into cars. I just called the police. The car had no license plates, nothing like that. That's how intentional those people were, because in case they were involved in a chase, I think even the vehicle probably they were driving might have been a stolen vehicle. It could be very dangerous. Definitely one of the worst places to work. Domestic abuse issues that takes place. Couples screaming at each other in the hallway at 3 a.m. You might have a guest that comes to the desk crying because their partner locked them out. You have to stand between 2 people as they argue in front of strangers, de-escalate the situation. You also have homeless individuals sleeping in. That's another thing. Someone sneak into the breakfast area pretending to be a guest. The whole time you have no idea it's a homeless person. And you know, sometimes they'll sneak in. You might find them sleeping in the bathroom or whatever. Like, it's crazy. Another thing that you will experience working in hotels is prostitutions. You have to deal with escorts or whatnot, sex workers coming into the hotel, okay, and basically handling business there. So your job is to kick them out. You also have guest entitlement. People say they pay $300 a night. Open this room for me now. They have this sense of entitlement where, especially if you work at a high-end hotel like a Marriott, those kind of hotels, you're gonna notice like the guests are very nasty. They really want whatever they want. They expect for you to do it right now at a moment's notice, no questions asked. You'll have guests demanding security escort them everywhere like a personal butler. So that's another thing from those entitled guests. They want you to escort them wherever they want to go. You can have someone insult you because their room key isn't working, kind of thing. And you don't even work in guest services, but for some reason, they might curse you out because they have issues going inside their room. Another thing is you become everything except security. What I mean by that is housekeeping asks you to move luggage for guests, bringing linens, pillows to the rooms. I've been told by some people sometimes they'll even ask you to fix like a room for a guest. I remember it being a horrible experience, being on my feet right in front of the door and dealing with all that stuff. Delivering newspaper to all the guests. Those are the 3 worst places to work as a security guard. So in case you're thinking about doing security work, I'm letting you know, be warned, stay away from those 3 places. All right, peace.